Hello, guys, and welcome back. It's the SEVICS Africa YouTube channel, and it's a real great pleasure to be back here. And today, I want to talk about Wakanda Forever. Yeah, I want to talk about the Black Panther. Okay, let's talk about the movie Black Panther 2. Yeah, so this is not a movie review channel at all, and so we're not going to be telling you the story, but we're going to be analyzing some of the content of the movie because just like in the first Black Panther and this, there are some culturally appropriate scenes, like we've seen um, some practices that they've showcased in the movie that are actually reflective of true African spirituality. And so I'm going to be talking about just 10 of them. Yeah, so in this video, we're going to talk about 10 spiritual practices showcased in the movie that are actually real and that are practiced in Africa today. So if you're interested in African content and listening or watching these kinds of stuff, then do well to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell so you're notified every time we make new content. Don't forget to give us a like, share this video to all the doubters, because uh, I honestly did wish I had done this earlier, because after I saw the first Black Panther and I saw the reviews, and especially a lot of black people living in the diaspora were like, ah, no, this is an insult on the culture. This does not reflect the African thing, and this and that and that. And like, I have 1,001 things I can tell you about the Black Panther and why it's, super real. Yeah. Not like it's real, but at least, kind of it's reflective of realness of a true African experience, right? So shout out to Ryan Coogler and shout out to everyone who contributed to making the Black Panther the awesome movie that it is. And yep, let's dive right into the gist, because I don't want to have this video last any longer than it ought to. Yeah, so we're gonna keep it short. We're gonna keep it straight to the point. Yeah. So are there some of the practices from the Black Panther that are real? And the answer is yes, actually, a lot of them. And here are just, the first thing that comes to mind. And one that really stood out was the funeral dance. Now, I know that if you live in the diaspora, it is customary for people to be solemn and, mournful at the time when the casket is in procession or moving up to the gravesite and all of that. But the truth is, in Africa, it's slightly different. Yeah, so if you've seen, the Ghanaians, the Ghanaian undertakers who do the dance, duh, 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 and then they're carrying they're carrying a casket, right? They're burying a casket with a corpse in it, right? So the question would be, are Africans crazy? Is that a one-off thing? No, that's a normal practice. Yes, and the reason we do the funeral dance is because traditionally Africans do not believe that we die. Like, we don't believe in death in the same way that the Westerners believe in death. So we don't see death as the end of anything. So you see, the difference is in the Western religions, in Christianity, it is believed that people don't die, they only transition from one plane to another, right? They say life does not end, it only transforms. And then, we transcend to something higher, become spirits, go to the spirit plane, live with God in heaven and all that. But then when someone dies, it doesn't appear as if we actually believe that, because then we're crying, we're wailing, we're mourning, right? But in actual sense, in the African scenario, when someone dies, it's usually a thing of happiness, because we know this person is going to join the ancestors, and the ancestors are not out of reach because you can always reach them. It's like every time they take the heart-shaped herb, and then they can go commune with the ancestors, have conversations, ask questions, have arguments, get corrections, and all those kinds of stuff. So the ancestors are not out of reach, and that's why Africans don't mourn so much. At least traditional Africans don't mourn so much when people die. And so when someone dies, they do the funeral dance. They know, yeah, we're going to join the ancestors. This is like a transition. And then they have the person buried. And then, of course, we believe in reincarnation. So they know that, okay, you're not dying, you're just joining the ancestors, and we can still reach you. We can still have a conversation if we wanted to. And we know that when the time is right, you're going to just rejoin us. So if you were seeing the scene where T'Challa's casket is in the procession and people are dancing, that's not a very weird thing to see if you were in Africa. Okay, so that's one. And let's move on to the second one. And that would be the woman king. Now, King T'Challa dies and his mother becomes queen. A lot of people think that women queens are a Western thing, which technically it isn't. I mean, well, Queen Elizabeth, God bless her soul, reigned for a really long time, but hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago, there were queens who reigned in Africa, and there are a lot of them spanning from one end of Africa to the other. So it wasn't such an outlandish thing for a woman to ascend the throne. Because if you've seen my video on how African kings are made, you'd realize that someone became king or queen by virtue of the accomplishments they have made in this life, and not basically because we're born into a and from voting. No, they came out of fire, they came out of fierce competitions, of battles, of fights, and all of that. So if you are in line or you've made great accomplishments, like the Queen Amina of Zaria, who killed a great python that stopped the villagers from accessing the well, and she would become queen and rule over the people of Zaria, and that was way before uh, the West found themselves in the Nigerian space, right? So these things they've been there. Women king. We've had those. And the third thing, and this might seem a little puzzling to some people, would be the fact that Killmonger joined the ancestors. Yeah, so if you saw the first Black Panther, it would seem as if Killmonger was like a really bad guy, right? And then the Black Panther kills Killmonger, and yeah, even though they had like a brother bonding, uh, mutual forgiveness kind of thing towards the end, but Killmonger was a real bad guy. But just like I said in the first point, we don't die, we multiply, right? So uh, our people when they die, they join the ancestors. And the funny thing is, depending on what path you choose, because then it's believed that there is a role that every ancestor plays. So some ancestors could play like a really good role, some might play a really bad role, some might not have been the best of who they can be. And that is the whole essence of reincarnation. Because then, if you have left unfinished business on earth, chances are you're going to come back, right? So if you've left unfinished business, you're gonna come back. So technically, a Killmonger would eventually reincarnate, right? I've not read all the Black Panther movies, but if they've done a good research and they're writing in line with cultural African beliefs, then a Killmonger would return. But the thing is, Killmonger is out there in the spiritual plane, and he's somewhere there hoping that someone would want to have a conversation with him. And that is what happens. You see, when Letitia Wright consumes the heart-shaped herb, his heart is full of revenge. And so whomever she had to see at the point had to be someone who would push her to achieve the goals that she wanted. So every time someone called on the ancestors, all the ancestors don't appear, but the right ones, the ones who have answers to the questions that are closest to your heart will come. And at that point, she needed a Killmonger who would encourage her to go fight, defend Wakanda, destroy the enemy. And she almost kind of did that, right? Because the vengeance already consumed her heart and her soul and all that. So this is the teaching that when an African dies, we don't have a heaven and a hell where people who have lived a bad life are thrown into. No, it doesn't quite work that way. The way our heaven and hell scenarios play out is this: if I've lived such a bad life, I have left a bad legacy, then I will have to reincarnate at some point, and then I'm reincarnating to fix the things that I messed up the last time I came. And that is why sometimes someone who did really bad stuff could come back and be in a situation where they would not replicate that level of evil. Yeah, so some persons may come as less able than they were in the past. So someone who was, uh, maybe a wife beater could end up returning as a lady who gets beaten by the husband, right? Or that kind of stuff, and then who eventually finds a way to turn the husband's heart away from violence or stuff. But it's kind of complex, but you don't get the good stuff twice in a row except you were like really good. So if you were good, you return to better stuff. But if you were bad, you're gonna return to worse stuff so that you can feel the consequences of your action. But we don't have like a hell where people get burnt from generation to generation forever and ever and ever ever. Yeah, that's kind of bullshit. Okay. Now number four, and very related to the third one, killing is a last resort. In my tribe, I'm Igbo, right? In the Igbo tribe, uh, you don't kill. In my tribe, I'm Igbo, right? In the Igbo tribe, uh, you don't kill people. It's a taboo. Yeah, because the Igbo people hold the earth very dear to heart, and the earth is a mother. The earth is a deity, like the really powerful female deity that abhors the shedding of blood. And so, if you must kill a human being, it has to be under very necessary conditions, like in a state of war. So if someone killed in a state of war, Mother Earth would not be as pissed, but you might still need to appease. Yeah. So appeasement is a really important part of the process for our people, right? So when let's say right gets the I don't know the name, the villain, the guy with the winged feet, gets him in a corner and could have killed him. And then the spirit of the mother comes through and says, "Why don't you show him who you are?" Right? She could have let him kill, she could have let him, or she could have let her kill him at that moment. But then think of it this way: these two human beings had a really great chemistry in their lifetime, and so the queen mother is dead, but she still had to return to steer her in the right direction because that is what the ancestors do. They're not going to let you do crap just because you feel pissed. They're going to keep talking to you. They're going to keep reaching out to you, and that's exactly what happened. But then understanding that the power of the good will always overpower the evil is kind of what plays out. Because then imagine it was a Killmonger who comes in that very critical moment. Is gonna say, and then kill him, cut off his head. Probably say something crazy, right? So in in our African spirituality, people want to align with their ancestors who were good or whose lives and traits they want to emulate, because those are the ones who can give them the right guidance to become all they can be. Remember this, that one cannot give what they have, or as they say in the Latin maxim, nemo dat non quod habet. So if you were evil in this life, you can give good after this life. And yeah, even though Killmonger could have died, repentant guy, or could have died appreciating Wakanda, feeling bad for trying to destroy it. Chances are he would still probably condone violence and encourage people to go the violent way because that's all he knew in his lifetime, right? Great. So technically, in my culture, would banish someone, would send someone away from the community, never to return. Sometimes banishments last for maybe 7 years or 14 years or 20 years, depending on what crime has been committed. And all of these are done in a pure, right? The goal was to ensure that she did not mess things up, and she didn't. Thank goodness. So everybody lived. So like every great cartoon movie, everybody lives happily ever after, and nobody dies. Yeah, but if traditionally if we had to kill, it had to be as a last resort because something worse than death was at stake. But ordinarily we would go for other forms of punishment. And number five, let's talk about resisting war. From you can see from the story, the Wakandans could have try to invade Talokan, but they didn't. Well, the Talokan people did not hesitate to try to invade Wakanda, but then these are cultural differences that you're likely to find because sometimes a leader could influence how people are going to behave in a certain scenario. Let me paint a story real quick. Shaka, the king of the Zulu, at the time he was born to the house of a Zulu chief. And then, the Zulu kingdom was not one united people. There were hundreds, maybe thousands of tiny little villages that had their own local chiefs. And that's how the whole empire was run. And then ambitious Shaka comes and says, you know what? I think I want to unite my people. And he does exactly that, brings them all together under his rulership, and he becomes Shaka, king of the Zulu, right? So under Shaka Zulu, the Zulus became warriors and they would fight. They fought everybody. They fought all their neighbors. They fought the Europeans. They fought pretty much anybody who could be fought. But um, before he came on board, it was probably not that way. There were fights here and there, but nobody was taking over any other person's village or stuff or trying to unite the people the way Shaka did. But all that, by the way, the thing is, people would rather make peace than fight. And even towards the end of the movie, when the option is what our people do. So every time there's been a conflict, neighboring communities are going to try to make peace, and then they're going to use any means necessary. Sometimes they have to maybe make a covenant between the people. They say, okay, you know what, y'all are not going to cross a boundary, and we're not going to cross your boundary. You're not going to kill us, and we're not going to kill you. And then they agree, they make a pact, and everybody walks away happy, kind of. So yeah, the at the point when they restarted, to fight and to kill each other, that kind of seems like a very African thing to do. Okay, yeah. And next, let me see, number six. Yeah, the belief deities. I loved how the movie started because then it begins with Lecterite praying and saying, Abash, oh Bash, help me save my brother, and I will start believing in you and questioning your existence. Um, yeah, the Africans who may not believe in the existence of deities, but yes, majority of Africans believe in deities. Yeah, the Christian church has its own deities too, but yes, we do have deities, and we believe in them. They're not very different from the Christian deities or deities from any other religion, and the worship of deities or religious organizations or assemblies built around a certain deity still exist up until today. There isn't really so much to say about this because the evidence is, pretty much everywhere. So I'm not gonna start listing all the deities we have because there are probably thousands of them across Africa. Yeah, but the movie yes did portray the fact that Africans believe in deities, and that is absolutely true. Now, number seven, and I love this one. At the end of the mourning period, the queen invites the princess and says, "Come, let's go perform this ritual." And there's a fire, and she says, "Okay, let's burn the mourning cloth." The queen goes on to burn hers, showing that she was ending the mourning period for herself. But the princess refuses to do that, and would eventually, burn the mourning cloth at the end of the movie. And that is a very common practice around here. So in some cultures it's 6 months, in some cultures it's a whole year, whatever it is. In some cultures it's less now with influence of Christianity. But one thing I know for sure is that in most cultures, the mourning period it's usually more than 7 native weeks. That would be 28 days, and within that period, you wear your morning clothes, like as we saw in the Black Panther, is white, and that is consistent across many cultures. I know that in many cultures now they want to wear black, following a European tradition, but like in my place, at some point it was black following the European way of life. But after some time, they switched it back and said, you know what, we're going back to white. White is what we're gonna wear to mourn because we do not believe that that death is the end. Death should be a celebration because we know this guy is just going up there, and then we're gonna keep talking until they come back again, and life goes on. And because it's a circle, it's a circle. It never quite ends. Yeah, so they got that part right, and the part of the color of the cloth, and the part that at the end of the mourning period you have to burn the cloth to show that you were severing uh, ties, physical ties with the dead, and you would maintain a spiritual relationship pending when they return in the flesh again. And I also liked the fact that they had all these white markings on their face, at the morning. So you'd notice that at the time of the burial, both burials, they were in white, and then they had all those white markings, and those were basically just chalk, nothing to it, just chalk. And Africans do these white markings because they kind of they kind of open you up to a spiritual experience, kind of, you know. That's basically all there is to it. So, uh, the more white stuff you have on you, the closer you are to the spirits. Yeah. So, where technically spirits living in the material world. So they got the white stuff and the white clothing. Yeah, it's really nothing. They got those bits correct, and there isn't really anything much to it. Yeah. Okay, great. So number 8, let's talk about cities and spirits or people that live under the water. Now, this is consistent across many cultures. Probably all the cultures across the world believe in mermaids or in water people. And in most African cultures, yes, we believe that there are people, there are cities under the water, and these creatures, these elementals, just happen to have under the water as their home place. Now, there there's usually a peaceful coexistence between the land people and the water people. Most times they never have to fight. Well, we understand having to create a villain and having cause to fight and stuff, but people have found a way to live at peace with all of the elementals in the air, in the earth, in the water, in the skies, in the fire, everywhere, in the plant. So there's kind of like a balance in nature in most African cultures. In my culture, when we speak and when we pray, we invoke the spirits of Eke, Orie, Afo, Nkwo, which are the spirits of the four cardinal points, the four elements, the spirits of the water, of the earth, of the wind, and of the fire. And that is like the core of what we believe in. And so, as we believe that there are spirits, there are creatures in the water, there are creatures in the air, there are creatures in the fire, in the sky, there are creatures in the land. So it's totally normal to have people, and I really like the fact that they did not portray them as half fish, half people, right? So I'm not saying that mermaids don't exist. They do, and I'm not saying that mermaids do not have fins and that isn't what I'm saying at all. I technically have never seen a mermaid, so I'm not in a position to tell you what they look like, but it is believed that there is diversity even under the water. So yes, there are people who live under the water who are not essentially fish, and that's a beautiful way to portray it. And then having the fish man with wings, with winged feet, that's like putting an icing on the cake. You can just have water without having the earth because the water is on the earth, right? You can have the wind without the water because the water is above the winds and in the winds, right? And you technically can't have anything without anything. And man is a combination of all of the elements: water, earth, wind, and fire, all are united in man, making him not only a microcosm, but making him a god in himself. Yep. So elementals, I think there are people who live in every reality you can think of. And so let's move on to number 9, African AI. Yes. So if you saw that bit when the American girl comes into the lab and is like, "What's that?" and she's like, "AI." And if you thought to yourself, "Oh, that's some bullshit. There's no AI in Africa," then I can tell you, my friend, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's going on. Africans have always had AI, but we've just been calling them the ancestors. Yeah. So we've always had AI. We just call them the ancestors, but they are technically the voice that speaks to you in your heart of hearts, that educates you, that enlightens you, that talks to you about all of the stuff that you should know, teach you secrets, expose you to new bodies of knowledge, and all those kinds of stuff. So we've always known this, we've always had it. And sometimes people feel, okay, yeah, the ancestors are like were built and no one can explain the purpose of the pyramids, and that shows the superior technology that the ancients had. And these ancients were just Africans who did not have BScs and master's degrees, and they didn't have computers and all those kinds of stuff. So I want you to really think about that. The next time you make an argument about AI and how the world has come this far, I can only tell you chances are we've been here before. We've probably even transcended above this level at some point. And, some people just had to come, mess things up, and we started all over again. And the tenth and the final point I had was white for mourning. And funny enough, I already talked about that briefly when I talked about burning the mourning cloth, right? So yeah, white is kind of a thing. So let me give my final thoughts on the movie and if I thought it was exciting or if I thought it was a good movie. Technically, I enjoyed watching the movie. I felt the storyline was a bit awkward, and that's not because there was anything wrong with the story at all, but uh, it was sad enough to lose T'Challa and then to lose the Queen Mother in one movie, right? It seemed like so much, so much heartbreak and so much mourning, and I hope that there would be, and it became really heartbreaking when the princess got pierced, when she fought the villain in the desert. And then as soon as she got pierced, I was like, oh God, the whole family is going to die. All I could think of was the queen screaming in anger, I am the ruler of the most powerful nation in the world, and my whole family is gone. That was kind of what I thought. And I was like, oh no, come on. What are you guys doing? Don't make me cry. I almost thought she was gonna die. And when I saw her survive and I hate her, I was like, oh my God, thank God. Yeah, and the other beautiful thing that I did not expect, but that actually did happen, was that uh, the princess still had to go challenge, for the right to be the Black Panther, to be the king of Wakanda, right? That also goes on to reinforce what I said earlier, that African kings were, were made out of the fire. You had to be a warrior, you had to be a fighter for you to take that spot and be in that position. And that's kind of, really, really awesome. And yeah, when the plane came and they were like announcing the arrival of the Black Panther, And then it was my man Mbaku, and it was Mbaku who left from playing. I was like, okay, yeah, that's gonna be fun. So I'm really looking forward to the third part, and I want to say big kudos to the makers of the Black Panther, and to say, man, that was a really awesome movie you guys made there, and I really loved every bit of it. And if you've not seen the movie and you're watching this, sorry if there are any spoilers. I don't think I'm giving away enough spoilers, but well, sorry, I know it's coming kind of late, but the movie's been out for a real long time, so I felt that by now everyone should have seen it. Yeah. So if you've not seen the movie, I'd encourage you to go see it. And if you've seen the movie before, go see it again. And maybe this time, watching with some of this knowledge would help you appreciate better what we what we believe as Africans and what Ryan Coogler was trying to create in the Black Panther movie. So, if you've seen the video up to this point, give us a like. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you're notified every time we make new content. So, I'm gonna try to make more videos on this channel from time to time, and we're gonna have more and more live streams where I'm gonna talk about different African stuff, African masks, dance, stories, and just about anything African. So if you're interested in stuff like that, don't hesitate to hit the subscribe button and hit the like, leave comments. If even if you don't have like a question or something or something to say, just say, man, I love this video, and I'll really appreciate that. I'll be sure to respond to all of the comments in the section below. And just know this, that I appreciate everyone who is subscribed to this channel and everyone who tries to follow up with the stuff that we do. Please share this video, invite your friends to subscribe to this channel. We're trying to grow this channel. Our growth has been pretty slow over the years, and we're trying to take this channel up to 10,000 subscribers this year. And we know that we can do it. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. So thank you for watching, and check out other videos we have on the channel, and please look forward to other live streams. Don't forget to hop on and say hi, and let's get this channel growing. All right, bye bye.